Welcome to the part of the night where you kick up your feet and enjoy a bite with a drink or some fam. Congrats, give a hand for Hartford Foundation for public giving, taking stands, creating plans to smash the systems, giving voice to Hartford brothers and sisters. 260 grants, 29 towns served, 10.7 million raised. What else can we learn?
We standing here representing AOCA. You washing Chad, laying land, tang, do the thing. We all fellows here keeping you entertained. We got had to see Mcgee one time for your brain. Investigating problems and finding solutions, working for the people, a prosperous movement, data points proven, equity choosing, economic smoothness blessed, we all human.
The time to act is now, and that's what the funders do. Sponsoring the change, let the data speak the truth. Clocking barriers, blocking opportunities, got 5 outcome areas all for you and me.
Hartford Foundation, make the neighborhood advance, going hard, hit the pavement with engagement in the plans. Sparking mad vocation, go ahead, raise your hand, play your part, it's taking place, we're making changes in the land. Yeah, let it flow. Don't let them tell you something different from what you already know. This be Tang Sauce, Hartford 860, Zulu chapter repping, you should already know. Stand your ground, so profound. Don't hesitate to let them know how you're feeling right now. Confident, hold it down. Enunciate the opinion, let them know who they around. Take a chance if it's doing your dance, then move as you move and advance in your stance. Cause those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. So dig deep, first find, manifest platinum inside. Invest in integrity, positively and definitely. The harder you're living, the vivid and planning to get it, the bigger the picture you see. Give an expression, learn a lesson, seek the best, uplifting the rest, and picking up dust and passing your test. My people say yes, it's time to progress.
Permission to be the best me I can be. Anything less than that, but I can't keep on. It takes time to visualize the world as it can be, with a little bit more kindness for me to achieve. We could be greater. We could be greater together.
We standing here representing AOCA. You washing Chad, laying land, tang, do the thing. We all fellows here keeping you entertained. We got had to see Mcgee one time for your brain.
The time to act is now, and that's what the funders do. Sponsoring the change, let the data speak the truth. Clocking barriers, blocking opportunities, got 5 outcome areas all for you and me.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Greater Together 2021. Thanks to Tang Sauce, Royale, and Chad Brown Springer for that exciting start to our annual celebration of giving. All 3 performers are part of the inaugural class of Artists of Color Accelerate Fellows, a new program at 224 EcoSpace funded by the Hartford Foundation. This initiative pairs artists of color with local arts organizations to develop a unique project, as well as provide coaching and capacity building to both the artists and the organizations. We are so happy to be back here at the Bushnell in Hartford, and while we'd hoped to be together in person, we made a decision a few weeks ago to switch to a virtual event for the health and safety of our community. There are a few dozen people in here in the building theater seats tonight, so you may hear echoes of their presence during the next hour. And we're very excited to bring to you a leading voice for racial and economic equity and justice, author and activist Heather Mcgee. She's with us here this evening in Hartford tonight, and she'll join me on stage in just a few minutes. Before we delve into the Foundation's work over the past year, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic death of 16-year-old Waldemar Santiago of Hartford. It occurred less than 48 hours ago. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to his family and the families of all the victims of senseless violence in our community. It certainly underscores the certainty of our work and the urgency that calls all of us together for working for a better community. The past year has been one filled with stubborn, resurgent challenges, but also amid a growing sense of hope and optimism. And it has provided a new clarity for an increasing number of people in our community and across the country. As part of the Foundation's mission to create a more vibrant region, we are committed to working to dismantle structural racism and achieve equity in social and economic mobility in Greater Hartford's Black and Latinx communities. Through the lens of our 5 outcome areas, we have committed tens of millions of our grant dollars, the bulk of our resources, to these 2 priorities. We are laser focused on the structural barriers that limit opportunities for people of color, opportunities for education and employment, for good health care and secure housing. And despite the continuing challenges of the pandemic, we are working with efficiency and effectiveness in communities across our 29-town region, but it can only happen with our partners. Our loyal and generous donors, comprised of individuals, families, and corporate partners who have been with us for decades and continue to support our work. Our grantees, the nonprofit and community-based organizations engaged in difficult work every day to improve lives in our neighborhoods. Residents across our region whose voices are strong and impactful and from whom we learn so much. The public officials with whom we collaborate as we seek to effect systemic change in the Hartford region and throughout the state of Connecticut. And our dedicated board of directors, leaders who give of their time and their talent to help ensure we achieve our mission to create lasting solutions that result in vibrant communities across our region. This past year has brought several new initiatives arising out of our sharper strategic focus. Tonight, you will meet 4 of our new members of our community impact staff who are immersed in these projects at the local, state, and even national level. And credit goes to the entire staff of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. But first, it's my pleasure to introduce our board chair, Ted Sergi.
Good evening. I'm Ted Sergi, the chairperson of the Board of Directors of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. And on behalf of the members of the Board of Directors, I want to welcome you here tonight as we celebrate what's been happening over the last year and a half and as we get ready to plan for 2022. The board is very pleased with what the foundation staff has been able to do since the beginning of the pandemic in partnership with our donors, community organizations, nonprofits, with government. We think we've been improving the quality of life in Greater Hartford and focusing on those with the greatest needs. Community foundations exist to strengthen the sense of community. And probably the best definition of sense of community is that we do care about our neighbors, that we all have a responsibility for each other. We are not taking for granted that 100 years ago, a number of community leaders and donors actually contributed money and set up this foundation. And so we celebrate the fact that we exist, and we have existed for this nearly 100 years, rising to $1 billion in assets, distributing about $50 million a year, but also maintaining the fact that we will be in existence forever. Thank you for coming here tonight. We appreciate all that you do, and I look forward to Greater Hartford demonstrating its even greater sense of community in the future.
The effects of the pandemic continue to ripple through our entire community. Our COVID work has transitioned to a resilience and recovery mode, and that phase continues even today. The data is clear. The profound health and economic challenges of COVID-19 has had a disproportionate adverse impact on Black and Latinx residents in Connecticut. In July, we made our final grant from our COVID-19 response fund, which totaled nearly $11 million and addressed emerging needs in each of our 29 towns. But we know pandemic-related challenges still exist. So we are now meeting those needs through our existing grant-making pool. COVID exacerbated and laid bare the persistent disparities our communities of color face in every aspect of their lives. This summer, the foundation launched the Action Fund for Racial Justice to enhance our ability to make grants with impact, focusing on investments that combat the structural barriers facing people of color in our region. We are inspired by our donors who are united with us on the road to justice. And we are excited to grow the Action Fund and invest in projects that we believe will accelerate positive change in Greater Hartford. You'll hear more about the Action Fund later in tonight's program. So we've embarked on several new projects and investments this year. At our event last fall, we announced a pair of $1 million grants to philanthropic organizations led by and for the benefit of communities of color, the Hispanic Federation and the Prosperity Foundation. Here's what they've achieved in 2021. The Prosperity Foundation has focused on infrastructure, hiring full-time staff and consultants to enhance marketing, technology, and web development. They will soon award up to $100,000 in grants to small, Black-led and Black-serving nonprofits working in their core areas of economics, health, and education. Meanwhile, the Hispanic Federation has created the Communities of Color Nonprofit Stabilization Fund, which aims to support nonprofits led by or serving people of color through capacity-building grants. The fund will focus on collective engagement, encouraging leaders to work together to share best practices to strengthen the ecosystem. Another new body of work for the Hartford Foundation started late last year when we convened a wide array of faith leaders. We learned about how they provide resources for critical human needs and are catalyzing their communities around social and racial justice issues. In June, the foundation launched the Faith Community Grant Program, awarding grants to dozens of organizations across a broad range of religious traditions. This reflects a change in the foundation's policy and practice by providing religious organizations with access to funding opportunities. We look forward to deepening our relationship with these vital partners. Providing equitable access to the foundation's funding opportunities is a priority for us and a major driver of another new project, our Access Grants.
Hello everyone, my name is Carmen Valoria and I recently joined the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving as a Community Impact Officer. I bring a wealth of experience in the education sector, both in K-12 as well as higher education, where my work has focused on race, ethnicity, gender, and language usage with respect to youth, schools, and communities. I am thrilled to be able to work with an organization that is taking steps to dismantle structural and systemic racism. Access grants are an example of a step in this direction. We are working with organizations, community-based organizations, and organizations whose mission aligned with ours. They could apply for up to 1 year funding, $50,000 worth. And it could be for a new project to amplify some of the work that they've been doing, or for course support. What matters is that the work is sustained and that it is impactful. I am eager to support these organizations because fundamentally, I believe that to work towards dismantling systemic racism requires innovative ideas from all, and it requires us to support one another in doing this difficult work.
As I mentioned earlier, our partners are key to our work, and we are so proud of the partnership we forged with Dalio Philanthropies. Last year, our two foundations, alongside the City of Hartford, co-funded free citywide internet. That project is well underway with 2 neighborhoods fully online. This summer, we launched another project with Dalio Education and the City of Hartford focused on Hartford's young people.
Hi, my name is Joel Hicks Rivera, and I'm one of the new Senior Community Impacts Officers here at the Hartford Foundation. In the last 4 months, I've been working on a co-investment strategy with Dalio Philanthropies and the City of Hartford. We've been investing and coordinating in services for Hartford's youth, in particular Hartford Opportunity Youth, which are defined as young adults who are not connected to education, are either unemployed or underemployed. The goal is really to coordinate an ecosystem of services with 3 of our local partners, that being our Piece of the Pie, Roca Inc., and Compass Youth Collaborative. In Hartford in particular, we're seeing a rise in terms of our young adults not being connected to employment. So this work will really address and coordinate services for them so that they can become engaged in employment, engaged in education, and become local participants and are able to contribute to the local economy.
Another project focused on our young people reached a milestone earlier this month when the first cohort of 14 police officers from 7 municipalities graduated from the Connecticut Institute for Youth and Police Relations. The groundbreaking program is run by the University of New Haven's Center for Advanced Policing and the Tau Youth Justice Institute, and co-sponsored by the Hartford Foundation and another new partner we're excited about, the Travelers Championship. This program provides education to police, including multiple learning sessions with residents of color from our region. The goal is to help officers balance the demands of public safety and the best interests of youth and communities of color. Now, these officers will go back to the towns with programs that they've designed to benefit local youth and help build stronger relationships. The second cohort of officers will launch early in 2022. Collaborations like these are necessary to solve the most deeply embedded problems in our community. And our collaborations extend also to peer community foundations.
Hi, my name is Cesar Aleman, and I am the new director of the Connecticut Urban Opportunity Collaborative. We are a network of community foundations, including Fairfield County's Community Foundation, the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, and the Hartford Foundation. Together, we are participating as one cohort member of the National Equity and Opportunity Nationwide Initiative, also known as NEON. Our goal is to dismantle structural racism and achieve social and economic mobility in urban areas across the state, centering a model of mobility that is held up by 3 pillars: economic success, power and autonomy, and belonging in community. Through NEON, we form part of a community of learning where we are able to share and learn best practices to do our work, as well as explore new initiatives to achieve our goals. We are also able to raise national dollars from private foundations and donors to deepen our efforts locally and statewide. Together, the community foundations will align their strategies to come up with an actionable plan that builds on the strengths of each individual foundation for the betterment of Connecticut.
Another focal point of our work is housing. Efforts to ensure people can stay safely in their home continue to be a challenge. To help prevent evictions of our most vulnerable residents, the Foundation is supporting legal services and housing counseling agencies. We are seeking to help create long-term solutions to expand access to affordable housing and home ownership by working with community development agencies, tenant organizers, and others to develop more and better housing options. We are also working to educate residents throughout our region about the benefits affordable housing offers their communities. Our work also includes advocating for state policy changes to ensure that local governments create more affordable housing options so that all residents can live in thriving communities, and in Hartford and in towns across our region. As we seek to dismantle barriers to opportunity and prosperity for communities of color, it is also vital that we forge partnerships with residents and become more proximate to communities across the region. There's no more pointed area of work in this regard than our community organizing projects.
Hello there, my name is Sierra Stansel, and I'm a new Community Impact Officer here at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. My current body of work is with the Civic Engagement and Resident Engagement team as the Foundation becomes a partner in and supporter of the local community organizing field. Community organizing as a body of work is one of the only places and spaces where residents are directly trained and engaged to be able to speak for themselves on behalf of themselves. We're developing a strategy to support the community organizing field, both here in Hartford and across the region. In addition to that strategy, we've recently made several multi-year grants to community organizing organizations, and we are currently in the process of developing a community organizing RFP. Because community organizing is reactionary work. They respond to the needs of the community. And so when something happens, and it happens on a dime, and their membership base wants to respond to it, this RFP will be available for community organizers to be able to come to the foundation to augment their core funds.
Embedded in all the investments you're hearing about tonight is the Foundation's learning and evaluation work. While the overarching goal of our learning and evaluation unit is to strengthen the regional data, research, and evaluation ecosystem, our team also strives for an approach that incorporates existing local knowledge and data generated by our nonprofit partners. We also seek to embed equity in this learning process by centering grantee, partner, and resident perspectives and lived experiences. The richness of our neighborhoods for those same residents is due in no small part to the small businesses that line the streets from Avon to Asylum Hill, from Bolton to Berry Square. Recognizing that mom and pop shops are the lifeblood of local commerce and vibrancy, the Hartford Foundation has invested significant resources into the strengthening of a small business community, especially during the pandemic. We've brought to our region the Inner City Capital Connections Program. Known as ICCC, it's a tuition-free executive leadership training program for business owners in underserved communities across America. We also co-funded the launch of the Hartford Small Business Grant Program during the height of the pandemic to help small businesses adapt to the changing landscape over the past 18 months. These businesses are more than the goods and services they provide. They are the economic drivers and engines of opportunity for a neighborhood. Some are even local institutions that help define the fabric of a community. Here's one example.
The West Indian Social Club of Hartford was founded in 1950 by immigrant farm workers. What we do today is that we promote, articulate, and preserve the culture of West Indians. At the very beginning of the pandemic, we were actually planning our 70th anniversary gala. And then when the order from the governor came down that only essential businesses would be able to operate, that pretty much decimated everything that we were trying to do. So the grant that we received from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, the pivot that we made was into educating the community. We were able to purchase some laptops so that we could have that classroom setting. We also paid an instructor. So the Emergency Small Business Grant helped us to keep our doors open with some of the overhead costs. But we also able to upgrade the building to make sure that it was safe for our patrons.
Well, small businesses are the fabric of your local community. They're the ones that really hire local, train people. Putting more dollars in the local multiplier helps everybody in that community.
So we decided to get involved with the ICCC program, with the financial literacy that we gained. That really prepared us for the pandemic.
Ogaywo and Beverly were able to work with the Capital Coach to really help them get a better understanding of their financial position. Because they knew where their financial footing was, it was easier for them to apply for PPP. We're also shifting some of our curriculum to help business owners think about what are some of the longer term implications of these pivots and how can they be building themselves up for long-term sustainability.
One thing that we learned this past year is how important partnerships are, and we really want to make sure that more people come to our facility, come to our events, see what we're doing, and get involved. I was happy that when we put on our annual celebration event this year, that people did come out, they did support. There's always a blessing in whatever you're doing, there's always a silver lining. And so we're happy to be able to put on events again, and we look forward to be able to do that again.
The third cohort of the ICCC program is launching this year, and we just announced the third round of Hartford Small Business Grants that has provided training and access to capital to more than 300 businesses. When I arrived in Hartford in 2017 and embarked on a listening tour across the region, it became clear that the Hartford Foundation needed to engage and become more embedded in each of our towns. That notion has grown into an ambitious participatory grant-making program known as the Greater Together Community Funds. 29 funds, one for each of the 29 towns in our region. Over the past 2 years, the initiative has, against all odds, and in the face of a global pandemic, continued to prosper and advance. And tonight, we are pleased to share the story of our community funds.
So last summer, 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I got an email from someone here in town telling me that they were looking for volunteers for something called the Greater Together Community Fund.
There was a selection committee in our town, and one of my friends was like, I think there'd be a perfect opportunity for you. You seem interested in volunteering. And I was like, yes, I love it.
Town residents really had clear ideas about what was going on in their towns, what were some of the challenges, but what they were lacking were resources.
quickly we got our act together and we started to lay the foundation for how we were going to operate. We were very committed to supporting those that were underserved in the community, and we took a different lens on equity and inclusion to ensure that those that maybe are not brought forward as those that need the most help were brought forward.
In the United States, like a quarter of the population does not have internet access, and we're pretty aware of that. This is your device that you get for 7 days when you go to check it out from the library.
Our selective committee looked at different age groups, different ethnicities, different races, and different genders as well. So we started off the process with a diverse group. So I think it was really nice to learn more about my town, my home, my community, and the different people in it.
And the idea really is, you're connecting communities, you're connecting people, you're connecting, local businesses, parks, and those types of things. So that's kind of exciting.
We wanted to make sure we were focused on projects that would meet a variety of people's needs, from seniors to kids. We really are very homogeneous here. And what I also learned is that many of us in the committee and in the town felt uncomfortable with that.
The program actually looks at all aspects of systemic racism. Faith communities can play an important role in bringing together people around these kind of issues in a non-threatening way.
There have been participatory grant-making processes that are, you have to kind of jump through a lot more hoops. And this one was not that way. It was actually quite user-friendly.
My dream currently moving forward would be to reach as many people as possible, right? And making sure that they are supported during this difficult time and even in future times. And we want to be that support for them and create a community feeling, right?
Es ayudar con las necesidades que tienen estas familias para poder cubrir al menos algo en ellas. El motivo de los carritos es para apoyarlos y para que ellas puedan ir a buscar más alimentos.
And when you have kind of a locally driven grant opportunity, it's way easier to work with those folks. It's local, it's easy.
As of today, we have 15 advisory committees that have recommended grants, totaling over $150,000.
There's a lot of need out there, and sometimes it seems overwhelming. But I think taking that one step of being able to say, what's the one little thing I can do is so important.
It's good to know that there's still a lot of good people that are trying to help the community. And them donating their money for good cause, it just shows you that there's a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing that we're doing, which is help the community.
The Hartford Foundation's Greater Together Community Funds have gained national attention in the philanthropic sector as perhaps the most ambitious participatory grant-making project ever launched. We are so happy to report that 27 of our 29 towns in our region now have advisory committees that are on their way to making grants to enhance the quality of life in their respective towns. So now we've given you a flavor of our work over the past year. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our special guest for this evening.